Have you ever felt completely stagnant in your business? Like for some reason you felt creatively stuck or the money just wasn't flowing in and you couldn't explain why? You're doing all the things, nothing's working. Well, if that's a heck yes, if that's ever happened to you, well, you're in luck today. You are going to love this episode. Hey there, I'm Tracy Matthews, Chief Visionary Officer of Flourish and Thrive Academy. And I help jewelry designers and makers create financial security for themselves and their families using a little thing that I call the Desire Brand Effect. And on today's show, I am talking with my dear friend, Patricia Lohan, who is a Feng Shui expert. She is going to talk about the importance of organizing your home in a way that allows for the creative flow of energy and, in effect, brings in more prosperity into your business and your life. You are going to love this episode. And if you enjoy it, here's the thing. If you're loving this content, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and make sure that you share this video with your friends and share with me in the comments below your favorite tip that you learned today from this episode. All right, let's dive in and chat with Patricia. I am beyond thrilled to have my friend Patricia Lohan on the show today. Patricia,
hi.
How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to talk to you.
It is so good to see your face. So we had such an amazing experience. Patricia and I met at a conference a couple of years ago, and it was like the universe aligned that we had to meet because we first met in line at a salad bar. And then the next day we were at another event together. And then the next day we were at another event. And it was just forcing us to be friends. I don't know what happened.
Literally forced together.
And the best part about it is that you moved to New York City like a couple months later for like an extended stay in the summer, I think, right?
That's right. We were there for the summer, sussing out life in New York.
Oh my gosh. And then we had a blast. One night we went out and we ended up getting caught in the rain. We had dinner at Pastis, getting caught in the rain. We were paying our bill. We're like, oh, let's just have one more glass of rosé. Get stuck in the rain. And then we ended up stuck in Pastis for hours and then went off and went somewhere else. It was just like one of those random New York experiences. So fun.
So fun. Oh my God. New York is amazing. And we had such a good time that night.
Oh, so much fun. But that's not really what we're going to talk about. I mean, Patricia and I just spent the last 20 minutes catching up on our personal lives, which has been amazing. So, I actually wanted to have Patricia on this show today because she talks about using Feng Shui to create more creativity in your life and use that to actually fuel your business. So we're going to talk about how to really like set up your home and your office space to create more creativity, which eventually and essentially leads to more growth and abundance and all the best things that you can possibly have in business. So Patricia, I would love before we get started for you just to give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Well, I got my first Feng Shui books about when I was 15. So I am all in on talking about Feng Shui and I'm super excited to share about that. I've also been like a serial entrepreneur. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My parents had their own businesses. I think they had like 10 businesses and all over many, many years. So it's been in my blood to really, support and do entrepreneurial stuff, but also the Feng Shui, the two of them. So I'm from the West Coast of Ireland. I'm here. We're recording on St. Patrick's Day, which is kind of cool.
It's so funny. It's very random.
I didn't actually realize that this is going to be my path. I had no idea I would ever be teaching about Feng Shui or doing this work. From a very entrepreneurial family, I really wanted a 9-to-5 job. I wanted to be normal. Like I really tried so hard to be a normal person, like normal in inverted commas. I went to university. I studied business. I got a job in accounting and then in marketing. And I like literally like weeks after me being in the cubicle, I'd be like, get me out, free me. So my one of my core values is freedom. So I realized this is not for me. And I ended up actually going back to my hometown and helping my dad set up one of his dream businesses. And I ran that for 9 years. Not knowing what I was going to do. I kind of was fulfilling everybody else's dream, quit everything, then like a kind of like a basic like midlife crisis or, first Saturn return, just like get out, everything has to go. And I moved to India and became a yoga teacher and started studying all of these amazing things. I went to India. I thought I was going to be there for a month. I ended up there nearly a year, had like a very intense spiritual awakening for that journey. It was pretty magical. And I came back to Ireland and started teaching yoga, sound healing, all these other modalities that I trained in. And I was working very busy with my practice. My clients were coming to me. I was clearing beliefs and trauma and all of this stuff. It was amazing. It's just so fabulous. But inside of me, I knew I wanted to call in love. And I got a new apartment. So, you know, at the time I was like cycling around Dublin on my bicycle, going to do my classes, like super like chill little, you know, spiritual girl living on like the breadline. You know, I would earn €5 for teaching a yoga class. So I am there. I've got this new apartment finally, and I'm like, I'm ready for love. I'm ready for this. So I set up my apartment to call in my man, and I did all the things that I just knew from those books of the 15-year-old and from just like researching. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. So I set everything up, and a few months later, I met my now husband, Ken. And literally, I walked around this house I'm now in that he had built, and I was like, he's feng shuied this place. He's feng shuied it. And he didn't admit it in the beginning, but eventually it came out that he had totally feng shuied his place as well. And, you know, Tracy knows Ken, but we are like a match made in heaven, like total kismet destiny. But the fact that he was into feng shui was just like fascinating. So we both decided like, let's go train and do this just for our own fascination. So everybody around me at the time, like all the women around me were single, and they're like, how did you meet Ken? There's no spiritual guides. They don't exist. Like people are into our thing so hard. Like, and I was like, oh no, like they do. Duh, I have like one, found one. They're like, you only got the only one. So that was kind of part of it. People started asking me, and I would start like telling them like, this is what I did. This is what I did. And Ken and I started feng shuiing, trained together. Totally. We're like just out of an interest and a passion. Did our own house. So at this stage, I'd moved in here to the house, and I'd feng shuied our own house. And within weeks, I had like a 6-figure windfall, like out of nowhere. And was like, what? So this house had no furniture. We had like a kind of like a driveway that was like total shambles. Like everything was really, really a mess. And all of a sudden we had this like money to finish the house, do the driveway, to have Patricia in a lovely new car. So from cycling around to now in a car, everyone was like, what the hell? So, and it was like so visible, like because everything was getting these upgrades. So that was like a big thing. We're like, wow, this stuff like is not just about like making your house feel good. It's like literally tangible things were like happening. So I was getting more clients. I was being seen on the TV. And it was like such a kind of, it was one of these interesting times where I was working with my clients and with them one-to-one in a different, in my therapy room. And what really dawned on me was like, hey, hang on a minute, like they're getting to this certain level in their lives. Like they're doing this amazing work. This woman who's getting up doing Qigong every morning, eating all this vegan food, doing all her mantras. Like she was literally following the books, like you name it, she was doing it all. But she was still coming back kind of not progressing as much. And I was like, what the hell? And then I went, can I come to your house? You know, can we do feng shui house? And I got to her house and literally I was like, oh, this is it. Like it was just not aligned. It was a bad for people, bad for money. It was just like basically everything possible. So, you know, everything she was doing internally was helping, but it was the house, that dense physical energy that was holding her back. And that was really what kind of drew me back to this work and kind of got me into it, because obviously people were asking me. My clients I started doing both, like doing the internal and then their homes. And it was like magic started unfolding for them. So that's my kind of like quick lowdown of like how we got into it. Ken and I decided to like go on honeymoon, and we kind of never came back. Like we're back in Ireland now. I still think we're on honeymoon. We're never permanently back here. So we went to Bali, and I thought I was going to be able to do like I didn't really know what I was going to do. Ken thought his old job as an engineer was going to keep him in work. And I don't know, I just thought I was going to like float at the beach, you know, in Bali. And then that didn't work. Like he wasn't getting that work. And we're like, okay, we're being pushed to do something else. So we started teaching feng shui online. And that has rippled into now working with thousands of people around the world. I'm probably like really, changing the way the feng shui is done. You know, it was traditionally a practice where you would go to someone's house, analyze it, draw the plans, do everything for them, and kind of give them, this is what you need to do. And it was too much information in one go. They didn't have the sense of support and community. I'm a total connector. I love people together. And that's what's unfolded, is we've just created this amazing community of women who we still do the personalization. So it's like this dance between, like, you know, they have to still take their own lead with their house, but they know exactly and get the personal guidance as well. So we've kind of revolutionized the way the feng shui is done. And yeah, it's been a magical journey of, you know, using this practice to support people grow and flourish and see amazing results.
You're helping them flourish and thrive. Of course you are.
Exactly.
So, I mean, before we move on to some of the tactical things that we're going to talk about today and the philosophy behind Feng Shui, we have to talk about your rings, because you have, you told me this story once that you picked out your dream engagement ring.
Yes.
And then your mom gave it to you, right? Tell me the story again.
So anyways, one of the things I do is I feng shui my vision board. Obviously, my house is feng shuied. I feng shui my vision board. So I created a vision board, and I remember my friend who just got engaged and showed me her engagement ring, and she goes, I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. She's like, it's exactly what I wanted. And that like triggered this thing in my mind, like, it's exactly what I wanted. What kind of ring do I want? So I had never thought about it. So I was like, okay. So I created my Pinterest boards, and I was analyzing, I was looking up, and then I couldn't really decide between two. I was like, this one's really nice. This one's really nice. And I want like a diamond band. So I put two big, massive giant engagement rings on my board, and another one with like diamonds. And then I had to say to Ken, oh, don't, like, it's not an immediate thing. Like, it's not urgent. Just so you know. And then obviously we were getting on great, and Ken had talked about rings, and then we were like, okay, so we got engaged, and I had found this ring in a shop, and I had said to him, like, oh my God, like, I think I found the ring. And he went off and got the ring, and that was fine. And we got engaged a few months later, while we were on holidays in Australia. So we got engaged, we went up, all my family were in Australia at the time. We were having Christmas and New Year's there, and I got engaged, and we arrived up with the surprise news. And I come out, and I'm like showing the ring to everyone, and my mom is like white, like she turns into a ghost, and she's like, and I was like, God, like, that's not a way to like congratulate your daughter about like getting engaged. She literally just was like, and she walked off, and like all my sisters and my dad, everyone was like super excited. There was champagne being popped, and my mom was like gone off over like, what the hell? So anyways, I didn't know this about my mom or or her plan, but she had actually she's really into jewelry, like loves her bling, like beautiful pieces over the years, and she would get them for different occasions. And she has her own jeweler who makes the stuff for her. So, you know, we're into this. But over the years, she'd been buying rings. She had bought 3 rings. She has 3 daughters. She'd bought 3 rings, and each one was designated to a different daughter. I didn't know this. I had seen those rings in her jewelry box, but I didn't know who they were for or what. And the ring that she bought me, that she had bought for me probably 12 years earlier, was literally like pretty much identical. Like identical. They're very the same shape, the same thing. They're really, really alike. So that was Mom's shock. She was like, "Oh my God, she has the ring!" Like she was like.
She thought you stole it out of the jewelry box?
But she didn't know what. She was just so confused because she'd never seen this ring before. Like she'd never seen a ring like it, other ring like it. So she was just like, is that the ring? What the hell? She was so confused. And then she came back and she looked at it and she was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, like a year later, she didn't say anything. She was like, congratulations, whatever. And a year later on my birthday, she was like, now that you've minded one diamond ring for a year, I'm going to give you another one. And she gave me the other one and handed it to me. And she's like, you can see why I was so shocked. And they were identical.
It's so crazy. Okay, so did your mom like plan to give this to you on a specific birthday or something? Like what was she holding on to them for?
So she was holding on to them. First of all, over the years, we would have been given like lots of really nice jewelry, amazing watches and everything. And we'd lost so much. Me and my sisters were like, you know, things had just gone missing. My dad had given us like beautiful gold chains and stuff. And it just all like was gone. So how it has turned out is basically when my other sister got engaged, a year later, my mom would be like, oh, you've still kept that ring for a whole year. You can have the other one now. So it's like, that seems to be the thing.
Oh my gosh,
so
that's so funny.
You are now trustworthy and reliable to have something precious and valuable on your hands. And that's how it's worked out. So I have these identical rings, but it was only till I came home and like after being in Australia, the ring mom gave me the second. I look up on my vision board and there's the two diamond rings and the band with the diamonds. And I was like, oh, seriously? Crazy. So amazing.
So amazing. I love it. Okay. So now on to like, we're really here to talk about, but we had to talk about the jewelry because there are so many people who love jewelry in this audience and design it, of course. So what is Feng Shui? Why don't you kind of explain and walk us through that?
Okay, so Feng Shui is acupuncture for your home. Okay, so we have, this is where I bring it down to basics. Just like a person, our house has its own energy field. Parts of it are really healthy and happy and are helping us to flourish and thrive. Mm-hmm. And other parts are just not so healthy. They're just like not so happy. And they're actually kind of pulling us back. So and oftentimes it's where we've got to a stage in our life when we're like, well, I'm doing all the things, but why isn't this happening? Why haven't I met my husband? Why is the money a bit of tricky? Why am I not able to be seen in the media? Like those kind of questions. And you're like, what? I'm trying, but it's just not happening. And oftentimes, like when someone comes into my world, I'm able to be like, well, the reason that this is because of this. And that's what it is. It's like what we're doing with Feng Shui is we're analyzing the energy. So when I work with the clients or in our program, we do like an astrology reading for your home. And we're like, oh, this is it. And it's based on the year that the house is born, like it's built. That gives me all the impressions. Yeah. Based on the sitting compass. And I think this is also something that a lot of people don't realize about Feng Shui is that, we can buy like a book and DIY it, but actually it's bespoke. So every single piece, every single home, like it's like a piece of jewelry, like every piece of jewelry is unique, but every house is totally unique. It has its own energy imprint. And also the people that move into it are going to be impacted in different ways, depending on their own constitution and their energy. So it's kind of the dance between both of those, which is so powerful because when we think about, the power and the idea of Feng Shui is that like it's an ancient practice, and when it was first created, it was really about good health and good harvest. So health, like everybody wants to be healthy. So the house was always about creating health, but the other side is about the wealth, the harvest, like you reap what you sow. So when we look from that perspective, it's about bringing your house into this sense of balance, this sense of like total harmony and balance. And I love the idea of connecting it. So we're connecting, like bringing source energy in, connecting it into this rhythm of nature, because we're working with the 5 elements. So, you go out and you stand outside in nature on the most amazing day and you feel so connected, so balanced, like you can't even realize how much life could just get better in one of those days in nature. Like that's the type of balance that we want to bring and create in the house. But when it's built, like, houses and apartments are just kind of like thrown up. There's no intention to like, oh, well, let's build it in the most auspicious direction to support these people. It's like, no, how can we build as many houses and get them all in as quick or as apartments in as that we can possibly to make as much money as possible. That's how they're built. So what we do is we reverse back and we're like, well, how can we optimize this to support the people who are living in it? And as I said, like it creates this sense of flow and brings you into flow, just like acupuncture bringing that sense of flow.
So how does that work with like the different family members? So like, for instance, Jason and I live in a home. His daughters are here half the time. And he bought this home 10 years ago. And it was built, I don't know, sometime in the early 2000s. And like a lot's happened in this home. So like, how do you kind of bring all that together to create like a Feng Shui system for a variety of different people?
So that's a great question. I've never been asked that question before.
Well, always a first.
I love it. So essentially what happens is, like, ultimately the main thing is we bring the house into balance. Like, so we do like the reading, we bring it into balance. We analyze every area. We're like, this is a great area, like amazing, or we need to bring in a certain element to balance it. So the core thing is always about bringing the balance first. And then we look at everybody and we're like, well, Tracy, I don't know what element you are. I'm like, you're fire element or earth element based on your year of birth. And that will then give us the best directions for you to sit for setting up your office. So we'll look at your office and be like, well, for your office to be for you, like, this is the best room for your office, or this is the best room for your bedroom, or this is the best. And you know what? Sometimes we can't get into that perfect thing. So for me, like, there's no such thing as like the perfect feng shui house. There's the houses that are optimized, you know? So like our house has a lot of good things going for it from feng shui. I'm teaching a feng shui certification at the moment. And I'm like, and these are all the bad things about our house. Like, you know, if I was, you know, these are all the great things. It's good for money. It's this, it has all these good things, but actually it's built into the side of this and it's this. And so it still doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad house. It's more about making the best that we can with what you have. So for example, you and Jason could have opposite energies, like opposite like direction. So for example, me and Ken do. So our bed is located in the power direction for him, not intentionally. It's the only place the bed will go in the bedroom that makes sense. You know, you walk into a bedroom, it's like the bed can only go one place. It would look ridiculous in another place. So what we do then is we offset it. So I'll be like, right, well, for me, when it came to our offices, I got the power direction. Like, I got the office, I got the one making sure that if I'm going to spend the most time, I'm going to be sitting with my best direction. So how we do it, I mean, we work from that. And then we'll also say, for example, if you've got like two daughters, what are their two energies? Is there one room that'll be better than the other? So it's really nuanced, and it will be like for work, for sitting, for play, for like sitting on the couch, you know, for concentration, for homework, all of that. We'll look at that. But most of the time, once the house comes into harmony, it brings you into harmony.
Oh, I love that. Okay, cool. So I want to talk about creativity though, because that is something that's really important, in particular to artists and also for people to thrive in business, because it's my personal belief that we all are creative. And you were sharing a story earlier about, I can't remember if this was on when we were talking in the beginning or after, about someone who like basically feng shuied her creativity center and she'd never picked up a paintbrush. And then all of a sudden is now painting and selling her art. Yeah. So I believe that creativity, even if you're not like an artist or don't consider yourself that, is so powerful in helping you not only make more money, but like live a more fulfilled life and be more aligned with what you're supposed to be doing in general. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Oh my God, I love this topic because it was just the most amazing thing. You know, we have our community, everyone who's part of our program, they take action, they do their remedies. And then all of a sudden, within like 2 months, these two women posted these paintings in the group. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And they both were like, I have never painted before. I just felt the calling. And one created a little painting room that happened to be in her West. So I'll talk about that as well. And they were literally selling them. This woman was like, well, these ones have all been, that's sold for $500. That's $1,000. I'm like, wow, this is, and they're not like taught artists. But what happens is when we bring things into balance, it brings us closer to our, like, you're tapped into like that kind of source energy, and you're tapped into really like that kind of divine guidance. That is some of the things that we see. It's just like a lot of synchronistic things start to unfold as you start to balance the energy. And when it comes to the spirituality or the creativity area, so every home, just like a body, I said feng shui is like acupuncture for your home. So your heart is doing this job, the lungs have this job, like every part of your body has a job. The same for your house. Now, the first thing I kind of want to say is that some people will hear like, oh my God, like my bathroom or my laundry room is the West area. Like that means I have no creativity. Or they'll hear my prosperity or my health areas where the toilet is. I'm doomed. I'm like, no, don't worry. Or, you know, do I have to sit in my creativity area to be more creative? No, you don't. What I would say to you is, first of all, you can get out like, oh, so nice. Like all our phones now have compasses. I don't know if we ever would use it. I use a compass on my phone all the time for work, but I don't know if people actually realize realize we have compasses on our phones. And when we use the compass, we can just look and see where west is, what direction west is, and just have like a little, just have a wander around the west area. So for example, Tracy, your office, like where you're working from, you could just look for the west area of your office. Like we can do it to the microcosm or to the macrocosm of the space. So for example, if you realize that like it was one of the girls' bedrooms in the west, you're like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that, like change anything there. But in your office, you're like, no, my west, like, what would I put in my west area? Well, you could first of all have a look and make sure there's nothing, no clutter there. Or there's nothing there that's like kind of, again, that would, anything broken, anything that's not working, you know, that's really the main thing, is go look at it and be like, what is in this area? And then you could kind of set some intentions. Like you could literally like, well, I'm tapped into my creative source. Like I am creative, I express myself creatively every day. Like set some intentions and just like journal them and pop them in that area, just like little seeds. The whole idea of like Feng Shui is like getting this energy balance with our environment. And that's then the same as like when that's balanced and happy, like you plant the seeds where it's fertile, and that's where the flourishing and growth happens. I can't believe I'm using flourishing so much on this podcast.
Thriving, we're flourishing
and thriving. We're all about flourishing and thriving. So like we're planting those seeds to flourish, and then they'll grow and have it, you know, so that's one part. The next thing is like things you could put into that area, like what are creative things? So the West area is all about creativity, new beginnings, things you want to seed and grow and birth, and a creative expression. So for example, if you had like a painting that you absolutely loved, or a piece of artwork, like, you know, like your kids' artwork, or just this beautiful piece of art, like that would be a great place for it. Now, if you're like, oh my God, it's my bathroom, I don't want to put it there, that's okay. Like, but make sure you have it in your house, because for me, when it comes to your home, like, you know, we talked about the vision board earlier, like your home is like a vision board can be a vision board for your future. Wow. You can use the walls like a vision board to kind of express your creativity and your desires. So some people will like get really caught up and be like, oh, but it has to be the West area. But I'm like, no, what I would say to you is, first of all, if you do have, you know, the West in your office, like you will, you know, the West direction in your office, if it's somewhere that you can put something that would make sense in that area that will tap into it, or maybe store your art supplies, or if you do have an art, like art books or creative things, put them into that area, or something symbolic in that area that just seeds that intention. And then just going back to the artwork, because I just think that this is such a fun one to do, you know, back to kind of the manifesting and the areas. So for example, in our bedroom, the end of our bed is the love and marriage area. And I have this beautiful painting of this couple with a little dog. And I never saw, when I bought the painting, I just didn't see the dog in it. I had like no clue, like I never noticed it. And honestly, within 6 weeks of me hanging that painting, I had got a new dog that, like, I had never had an intention for a dog.
Oh
And it was identical. I actually did a YouTube video on this. Like, it's like, for me, it was this big lesson of like, be careful what's on your walls, like be careful the artwork that you have, because like you are literally subconsciously bringing it in your house, like it's going to support you with that. So make sure that like what's up on your walls is really speaking to you in terms of like, yes, this is what I'm calling in, what I'm connected to. It's amazing.
You mentioned something to me once when we were talking the first time. It's like, if you want to call in a relationship, you do not want to have single pictures of yourself or single pictures of anyone in your bedroom or in your house. Like, I specifically remember this.
And this is so huge, especially, I think that one of the things is oftentimes artwork, especially when we're looking at artwork, we're called to pieces of art that are like that signify where we are right now. Yeah. It's kind of like, we're kind of called to, this is where I'm resonating with this like single ballerina floating here. Because I, you know, like that I have seen this. And then there's others, you know, so that's a big one when it comes to artwork. Like what you want to do is like kind of step forward and be like, well, what does my future self is anchoring in? So for example, if you are single and you want to call in love, like walk around your house and have a look and see how many articles, like, and I'm not even artwork or artifacts that are singular on their own. So I have several examples, but one lady in her house, she had 18 individual love hearts. So like, you know, ones that were made from wicker, ones that were made from fabric, hanging around the house. I was like, oh, here we are, a Lonely Hearts Club. Pair them up. like pair them up. So we brought them, I was like, bring them together, pair them up, pair them up. Now, this is kind of crazy story, but in her bedroom, so she had all these lonely hearts. She was actually feng shuiing her house with me to sell it. So I was working with her to sell, which was fine. But in the meantime, I was like, well, if you want to like a bit of a relation, a bit of magic, like we're going to be putting the remedies, it'll balance it. So she pairs up the hearts, but in her bedroom, she had this giant picture at the bottom of her bed with as a water image, but one single pole. It was a photo, actually. It was like some photo. It was like this pole sticking out, a red pole sticking out of the middle. And I was like, this is very isolated. There's one pole stuck in the middle in the water. I was like, it's definitely not like calling in, like it's isolated. I'm on my own, like all of that. And I was like, I don't really recommend it. Number one, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, okay, well, she goes, I'm selling, so I'll let it go afterwards. I was like, no problem. Anyways, she hired me to feng shui her next house. She had sold the house, all worked great. And I'm walking around the house with her and I see the picture with the pole. And I was like, oh, I said, we talked about this. We talked about it. She says to me, she's like, oh no. And I was like, what? She's like, you will not believe what happened. And I was like, what? She's like, well, this picture, I was really resistant letting go of it. She's like, yeah, well, I did meet someone and I had a bit of a fling with this guy. And I was like, oh, right, okay. When I did the feng shui, it's like amazing. She goes, yeah, it was the photographer of that painting. I know.
Oh my gosh, that's so weird.
I know. So he was already in her bedroom, like his picture was in her bedroom. So yeah, the art is really important.
Watch out, you might be having an affair with the person who painted the art or me. So what are a couple of just like tactical things people can do if they want to just create more creativity, either in their home office or their workspace or their home in general? What would you recommend doing?
The first thing I would say to you is like, make space. So I would start like just looking around your house and being like, what is here that is not resonating with where I want to go? So like, and when I talk about clutter, I'm not talking about like the dishes on the counter or yesterday's clothes on the bed. Like what I'm talking about is those cupboards that haven't been touched for 6 to 8 months, because that is stagnant energy. There's stagnancy. And when we have stagnation, there's no movement. So the first thing is letting go and clearing out any of those cupboards or those drawers. Tackle them first, because and the next part, like step with this is kind of my 2-step thing, is like having an intention of what you're replacing them with. So if you're letting go of something out of these cabinets, like all of old client files, clear them all out. And then you're like, I'm replacing these with like 50 new clients, or I'm replacing this with this amount of money, or I'm replacing it. So you're kind of doing an energetic exchange within your house of when you're letting something go. So the universe doesn't like a vacuum, and neither does your house. So it wants to know what you're calling in, and that sense of clarity. And the next thing I would say to you is just start with at the front door, and you want to welcome the energy in nice and easily. So you want to make sure your front door is nice and welcoming, really easy to get in, get that chi in. So when you're opening that front door, it's easy. Like there's no struggle. Where we have friction points in our house. So for example, at the front door, if it's a struggle and hard to push the door open, it means it's hard to get money, opportunities, luck, everything in. So you want to just like free that up. The second thing you want to do is then again, move around the house and start with like literally fixing or healing any of those friction points. You know, that thing that really bugs you with this thing, like clear that, because that's affecting your energy field, but it's also impacting each one of those areas in your home. So doing that alone will make a huge difference. And then my other favorite thing is to just move around 27 things. So 27 is a really auspicious number in Feng Shui. It brings us up to the 9. 9 is a really powerful number of Feng Shui as well. So move 27 things. Now, my other kind of like, I always add on, I'm like, move or let go of 27 things. Because you move them, you're just like shifting that energy as well.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I'm taking notes myself as I'm writing this down. So you have a challenge and a program coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that for people who want to learn more about taking care of this? And we'll also share a link in order to join in the show notes.
Yeah. For sure. So I have some amazing new videos created and trainings about how to unlock the prosperity in your home. So we will dive into finding a prosperity area, accessing it, but also some really powerful tools around getting that money in abundance flowing in your home and how to activate the prosperity, finding out what type your house is. So I have all of those available, and I'm super excited. And I also do live Q&As as well. So when you're checking out the videos, you can come and ask me your questions live as well, which is super fun. It's a 2-week journey of just magic feng shui and really activating and having so much, creating just a brand new relationship with your home and realizing the potency and power of it.
And when does that start?
So that is starting from the 12th of April onwards. And we will have 2 weeks of just like turning your home into a powerhouse and activating it to call in whatever it is you like. So money, love, romance, creativity, all the good things. Like that's really what we want.
All right. Oh, okay. So I'm definitely going to participate and join. So if you guys want to participate and have some fun and play around with me, creating a more prosperous home and bring in all the things that you want to create in your life and your business, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/prosperity. And we'll have information over there. We're also going to have the links in the show notes and more information about Patricia's challenge, prosperity challenge. We're so excited about this. Patricia, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. It was so good to see you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much for watching the show today. If you enjoyed what you listened to, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and you share this video with your friends. Once again, if you want to hear a little bit more about Patricia's program and join us for her challenge, her completely free challenge, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/prosperity and get in the challenge today.